wage for all staff of such child care providers. And BB are equivalent to wages for elementary educators with similar credentials and experience in the state, and DD are adjusted on an annual basis for cost of living increases to ensure those payment rates remain sufficient to meet the requirements of this section. 3. Payment practices. Such state plan shall include an assurance that the state will implement payment practices that support the fixed costs of providing child care services. B. Tiered system for measuring the quality of child care providers. Such state plan shall certify that the state has implemented, or assure that the state will implement within 3 years after receiving funds under this section, a tiered system for measuring the quality of eligible child care providers who provide child care services for which assistance is made available under this section. Such tiered system shall I. Include a set of standards for determining the tier of quality of a child care provider, that I. Uses standards for a highest tier that at a minimum are equivalent to Head Start program performance standards described in section 641A, A, 1b of the Head Start Act, 42 U.S.C. (9836A, A, 1b), or other equivalent evidence-based standards approved by the Secretary, and 2. Includes quality indicators and thresholds that are appropriate for child development in different types of child care provider settings, including child care centers, and the settings of family child care providers, and are appropriate for providers serving different age groups, including mixed age groups, of children. 2. Include a different set of standards that includes indicators, when appropriate, for care during non-traditional hours of operation. And 3. Provide for sufficient resources and supports for child care providers at tiers lower than the highest tier to facilitate progression toward higher quality standards. C. Achieving high quality for all children. Such state plan shall certify the state has implemented, or will implement within 3 years of receiving funds under this section, policies and financing practices that will ensure all families of eligible children can choose for the children to attend childcare at the highest quality tier within 6 years after the date of enactment of this Act. D. Compensation. Such plan shall provide a certification that the state has or will have within 3 years after receiving funds under this section, a wage ladder for staff of eligible child care providers receiving assistance under this section, including a certification that wages for such staff, at a minimum, will meet the requirements of subparagraph A. 2 cc. E. Sliding fee scale for co-payments, in general. Except as provided in clauses 2(i) and 3, the state plan shall provide an assurance that the state will for the period covered by the plan use a sliding fee scale described in clause 2 to determine a co-payment for a family receiving assistance under this section, or, for a family receiving part-time care, a reduced co-payment that is the proportionate amount of the full co-payment. 2. Sliding fee scale. A full co-payment described in clause I shall use a sliding fee scale that provides that, for a family with a family income, of not more than 75% of state median income for a family of the same size, the family shall not pay a co-payment toward the cost of the child care involved for all eligible children in the family. Two, of more than 75% but not more than 100% of state median income for a family of the same size, the co-payment shall be more than 0 but not more than 2% of that family income, towards such cost for all such children. 3. Of more than 100% but not more than 125% of state median income for a family of the same size, the co-payment shall be more than 2 but not more than 4% of that family income, towards such cost for all such children. Four, of more than 125% but not more than 150% of state median income for a family of the same size, the co-payment shall be more than 4 but not more than 7% of that family income, towards such cost for all such children. And v. of more than 150% of the state median income for a family of the same size, the co-payment shall be 7% of the family income, towards such cost for all such children. 3. Special rules. The state shall not require a co-payment under this subparagraph for any eligible child of a family with a child that is eligible for a Head Start program under the Head Start Act, 42 U.S.C. 9831 et seq., or a child who has been identified as a member of a population listed in subsection B2 D v. 2. A state or another entity may pay a co-payment, full or reduced, under this subparagraph on behalf of a family, but may not receive federal reimbursement under this section for such payment. F. Prohibition on charging more than co-payment. The state plan shall certify that the state shall not permit a child care provider receiving financial assistance under this section to charge, for child care for an eligible child, more than the total of I. the financial assistance provided for the child under this section, and 2. any applicable co-payment pursuant to subparagraph E. G. Eligibility. The state plan shall assure that each child who receives assistance under this section will be considered to meet all eligibility requirements for such assistance, and will receive such assistance for not less than 24 months, and the child's eligibility determination and redetermination, including any determination based on the state's definition of eligible activities, shall be implemented in such a manner that supports child well-being and reduces barriers to enrollment, including continuity of services. H. Policies to support access to child care for underserved populations. The state plan shall assure that the state will prioritize increasing access to, and the quality and the supply of, child care in the state for underserved populations, including at a minimum, low-income children, children in underserved areas, infants and toddlers, children with disabilities and infants and toddlers with disabilities, children who are dual language learners, and children who receive care during non-traditional hours. I. Policies. The state plan shall include a certification that the state will apply, under this section, the policies and procedures described in subparagraphs A, B, I, J, K, I, R, and U of Section 658E, C, 2 of the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act of 1990, 42 U.S.C. (9858) C, 2 and the policies and procedures described in Section 658H of such Act, to child care services provided under this section. J. Licensing. The state plan shall include an assurance